The situation with 3.3 banners is kinda weird when you consider some of the things, and in this video, I will show you everything that you need to know. So there's a lot of hype surrounding Scaramouche, or Wanderer in this case, but I think it wouldn't hurt to first understand some of the good and crucial things about him, especially considering there's Raiden Shogun, Ayato, and Itto, who will be competing for your Primo Gems in this update, which I'll talk about later in the video. Now, looking at his gameplay preview from the livestream, few things come to mind. First of all, while he does have vertical playstyle like Xiao jumping up and down with his pogo stick, it doesn't seem like Wanderer will share that many similarities with him. In fact, I would say he's the 5-star version of Heizo. You see, the biggest giveaway about this was one of his passives that were explained in the livestream. When he first uses his skill and deals initial damage, it will have elemental absorption, similar to how Kazuha or Sucrose works, but in this case, depending on the element that gets absorbed, he can gain additional critical rate, attack, regain energy, or even extend his hovering duration. And the best part is that he can absorb 2 elements like this. So, for example, in a Taser comp, he could absorb Hydro and Electro to gain 2 of these buffs. So basically, just like Heizo, he is an animo damage dealer, except for the crowd control. And most of Heizo's team comps include many of the elements that Wanderer will most likely be built with as well. And we're just scratching the surface here. There's so much more about the Wanderer that needs to be talked about. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by ReFantasia, Charm and Conquer. Now, this is a gacha game that has some serious assets to show off. Ever heard of Isekai? Well, in this world, you return to Fantasia as a newly appointed lord, and your goal is to become the mightiest of them all by building your stronghold, assembling your team to fight off baddies, and enjoy a rich economy simulation. But fighting isn't always the answer. After all, some of these followers you'll obtain will require you to build their loyalty, and since it's in the game's title, you conquer and you charm. And there's romance options with so many different races, like demons, fairies, goddesses, and furries of course. Win their hearts over and create your very own love stories. I mean, don't you want to find out more about this slime lady? But don't play the game just by yourself. There's probably dozens of players like you, so build an alliance with like-minded lords, and you can even join ReFantasia's Facebook and Discord communities. And right now, if you download the game by using my link in the description, you'll get awesome special rewards with my gift code, but most importantly, you'll also help support my channel. So make sure to download ReFantasia, Charm and Conquer now. Now, officially, we don't know the values of these buffs you can gain from elemental absorption, but what matters the most here is that unlike Xiao, who has kinda limited amount of team comps you can build with him, it seems like with Wanderer there's gonna be a lot of flexibility. So a lot of different team options open up because of this, like Freeze and Taser. Still, it does seem like his playstyle will be on-field, since as long as he keeps hovering, he can use special normal and charge attacks, which are these wind blades he's throwing out. But you have to ask yourself, how much damage can this special skill state contribute compared to his burst? Or in other words, will his burst be impactful enough so that you could also build quick swap teams with him? For example, just using his skill in burst to quickly unleash some damage and swap him out. You know, similar to how you can utilize Heizo. Although he does need to have 4 of those charges to make his skill do a lot of damage. However, I think this is kind of a niche situation, but having it as an option would be really cool for people who just want to mess around with strong team builds. But honestly, I think one of the biggest things about him that I haven't seen people talking about would be his hovering. And I know what you're thinking, but that's what everyone is talking about. Well, yeah, but I was thinking more of like in terms of what benefits he can gain in the Abyss. You see, when you use Kazuha's skill and he jumps up, you will quickly notice he can kind of become invulnerable to a lot of enemy attacks. And I mean, sure, he can get damaged midair, but most of these attacks will miss him. So if we take a look at Wanderer, just how good will he be at completely ignoring these enemy attacks while he's stomping on his foes from above? Or better yet, if he gains this special blue bar that indicates his hovering energy, is it separate from the usual stamina bar? That would mean not only can you avoid a lot of enemy attacks in air, but also when the state is over, you still have a stamina bar to utilize for dodging. And if that's true, well, it's gonna be an awesome way to mitigate damage. And maybe you won't even need to bring a healer, since Wanderer will be the one who stays on field the longest. Also, if things couldn't get better, his second passive also has a chance to make the next stash cost 0 hovering energy when using his normal or charge attacks. So he can even dodge enemy aerial attacks for a longer time. Overall, it's still kinda too early to tell if Wanderer is going to be a broken unit, but few things are clear for sure. Because of his elemental absorption passive, it's enough proof that his teams will be similar to Heizo's, like Taser and Freeze, while his playstyle, especially the ability to hover, might become a game changer when it comes to avoiding enemy attacks. However, Scaramouche isn't the only one that's coming in the first phase of 3.3, and we need to talk about the whole Faruzan situation. So, after seeing what Faruzan is capable of, I'm not sure if you're gonna like what I have to say about her. Basically, to me, she looks like a mixture between Goro and Kujosara, which is both good and bad. Let's start with the bad part. When she uses her skill, it will deal some damage to enemies, and then her next charge shot she launches will create a vortex. This vortex will suck in the enemies, which at this point is unclear how strong it is. Will it struggle pulling in someone bigger like a Fatui? Well, that's unclear at this point. But the real problem here is similar to Kujosara's, and that is, you need to put in the extra work and it can get clunky. Now, on the bright side, she does have a passive which speeds up her charge shot after she uses her skill. However, if you're playing on mobile or you get unlucky and miss your aimed shot, well, that's just a wasted opportunity. I guess you could just aim at the ground. Most enemies will be at close range, but I will have to see for myself if it's easy to pull it off. Now, here's the good news. We're going to be getting a full support package for Anemo damage dealers when she uses her burst. So she deploys this polyhedron, and as I understand it, it will move in a triangle shape pattern. And each time it stops by, it will pulse and deal damage to enemies whose Anemo resistance will be reduced. And in addition to this, the team's Anemo damage will be also increased based on Faruzan's attack. Luckily, it seems like the range to buff the team won't be just limited to the pulse area. It will be much bigger, and you won't need to chase the polyhedron to get buffed. But here's the thing. She boosts team Anemo damage based on her attack. That's pretty interesting because Anemo units, excluding Heizo and Xiao, thrive on elemental mastery builds, and it enables so much that you can do with them. So if this buff is based on her overall attack, then it's gonna be a bit weird building her. However, if it's just her base attack, similar to how Benny's attack boost works, then slapping on her highest base attack bow should do the trick, and you could still focus on making her more flexible for the team. I honestly think on paper she sounds amazing. Obviously, everything depends on how good those buffs are. Can she actually provide big enough boost for Anemo damage dealers, and how easy it will be to use her skill and charge shot. But one thing is clear, the main three Anemo damage dealers, Xiao, Heizo, and Wanderer, are gonna be happy to see her. It just makes me wonder if Faruzan is gonna become the Goro to Itto, especially since she's on the same banner as Scaramouche, or if she's gonna be just like Kujosara, pretty strong at C6 for Electro, but without it, could be replaced by someone like Lisa using Thrilling Tales. While new and shiny things are always great, the second phase 5 stars look absolutely stacked. Raiden Shogun and Ayato are both excellent units, especially Raiden now that she has become a premium Hyperbloom damage dealer for Dendro teams, which is funny because her burst is completely ignored in those teams. And the thing is, Raiden is extremely flexible. You can create many teams with her, and if I was a player who's still building my roster, I would say she's not a must-have because Genshin doesn't have enough challenging endgame content, but she is a very strong support that also has a really fun playstyle. In fact, if it comes between choosing Wanderer or Raiden, I would say it really depends on your priorities. The ability to hover with Wanderer will literally elevate the gameplay experience, but on the other hand, there's very little that we know about him besides some mechanics. So if you care about his damage performance or potential team comps, well, that's only gonna become clear when the update arrives. Although I can already say for certain that he will have far more flexibility than compared to someone like Xiao. Now, Raiden, well, we already know everything about her. She is an amazing support when it comes to gaining energy for the team. You can put her into National, one of the strongest teams, and breeze through Abyss, and in recent few months, she's become a staple in many Hyperbloom teams if you want to utilize her as an elemental mastery damage dealer. Of course, let's not forget Itto and Ayato who are sitting in the corner. While the Oni guy is basically limited to mono Geo teams with some odd support here and there, you really should only roll for him if you can get behind his playstyle. As for Ayato, well, he is a very solid unit. He has held up pretty well even after Dendro got introduced. I still use him in a lot of different Hyperbloom and Burgeon teams as a driver. Sometimes he's there just for his burst, but overall, good Hydro unit if you're still in the market for one. But yeah, I think the main thing to do if you care about optimizing your teams is to first wait for Wanderer's release to see how good he is. I'm not sure how essential Faruzan will be for him, since she does shred enemies' Anemo resistance and improves Anemo damage, but we've been playing the game for 2 years and Xiao and Heizo have been putting out pretty good numbers without her. So here's hoping Wanderer isn't tied behind a 4-star support in order to fully realize his potential. Otherwise, if you care about the meta or just want a strong and reliable option, then going for Raiden Shogun is a no-brainer choice. Just don't fall for that bait where people tell you need her second constellation. She's absolutely amazing at C0, especially if you're gonna use her as a glorified Dendro support for Hyperblooms. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd really appreciate if you could press the like button and check out my sponsor to help support my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.